Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. What is Open Mic? I'm glad that you asked. Every morning on the John Campea Show, we save some time for some live questions, but here in the afternoon, that's all we do is just take live questions, talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that kind of stuff. A little bit of television, a little bit of sports, some UFC here and there. Whatever floats your boat is what we're going to be talking about today. I've had a full day. I will be excited to tell you more about it later, but I had an interesting meeting this afternoon. More on that coming. Yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But for now, let's get to some cool movie discussion stuff. You guys have already started sending in some live questions, so let's get to that right now. And we get started with the first question today, coming to us from Ben Rayner. Just a heads up, AMC HR question. I think that was a joke. Yeah, about Toby from The Office. Yes, somebody sent in a question. Is Toby Flenderson or whatever the head of HR at AMC? Because I often talk about the HR department at AMC, not usually in very glowing terms. And somebody asked me, and I didn't catch the last name. I thought they were being serious. Like, oh, is that the person? So I thought it was a serious question. And I answered like, it wasn't until afterwards I realized, oh, I get it. Toby, the HR guy from The Office. Yeah, I got it. It is pretty funny. And it is also pretty funny that went right over my head. All right, next one. Rami J. Royster writes, thoughts on the Dragonheart film series? I really like the series despite being a little low budget in quality. I don't know. I'm a little iffy on the Dragonheart stuff, to be honest with you. It's never anything that's really completely done it for me or sold it for me. It's certainly not something that was super memorable or something that I need to go back and watch every year or two. So honestly, for me personally, it doesn't rank too high on my scales. But I know a couple people that love that stuff. They actually love the Dragonheart stuff. But me, it's honestly never ranked that high for me, to be honest. Tacky75 writes, another victim of toxic fandom, Ruby Rose. Now, here's the thing with Ruby Rose. Okay, for those of you who don't know anything about what we're talking about, Ruby Rose, best known for being in Orange is the New Black. She's currently in Meg, and actually, she's pretty good in Meg. I've never seen her act really, other than in John Wick 2, but she doesn't even speak in that. But she was actually maybe the best performance in the Meg. But anyway, and she has recently been announced as being Batwoman. She's going to be Batwoman in the CW Arrow Flash crossover, and then if that goes well, they're going to give her her own spin-off show. So that's the plan right now. So Ruby Rose just recently got off Twitter because of the negative backlash against her being cast as Batwoman. Now, I'll say this. It is tremendously unfortunate that that happened. I don't know if I would say... now, this is just from what I'm reading. The information I have could be so wrong. It's incredible. I'm only speaking from the information I've been given, okay? So take that with a giant grain of salt. I don't know that I would chalk this up to toxic fandom, because here's why. Expressing as a fan something that you don't think is just a good move, I don't equate that with toxic fandom. Like saying, I don't think that's a good casting. I don't think she'll do good. I don't think she'll do good as Batwoman, blah, blah. That's not, to me, that's not toxic fandom. Any more than like Star Wars, somebody's saying, hey, I hated The Last Jedi. That's not toxic. That is, look, when you're a fan, you have a right to cheer, you have a right to boo. Booing is not in and of itself toxic fandom. From what I read, and again, I didn't read the tweets she got, but from what I read, the reason she jumped off just was because she was getting a lot of tweets that people just didn't think she was good for Batwoman. I don't know that I consider that toxic fandom. Is it unfortunate? Yes. Does anybody want to get 1,000 tweets sent at them saying, I don't think you're good at what you're doing? No, nobody wants to read that. But I don't know that I would put that under the category of toxic fandom. Like, somebody writes or says, you're an ugly bitch. Okay, that's toxic fandom. That's idiotic. That's stupid. Somebody writing saying, I've watched her in Orange is the New Black. I just don't think she can act. She's not right for Batwoman. whether that criticism is right or wrong, it's fair for a fan to say that, and I don't think that falls under the category of toxic. So, I don't know. I think it's terribly unfortunate. I think it's terribly sad. But I don't know that I didn't, from the reports I read, it wasn't that people were writing and calling her names, or people were writing and saying, like, whatever. It was just a lot of people writing to say they didn't like her casting. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel, but I think it's sad and unfortunate. But is it toxic? I don't know. And you know what, you guys, what do you guys think? Do you consider any negative reaction toxic? Or is negative just as fair as to express positive? Toxic is when you cross a different line where you get into personal attacks and you start name calling. Like, that's what I consider toxic. I've always considered it's a fan's right to cheer and to boo. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that, and maybe I am. Jump into the comments section. I would love to know what you guys think about that. How do you see that issue? Please jump in there and let me know. Let's see. Next one. Rami J. Royster writes, saw Death of a Nation, worst film of 2018. One of those films that I took the liberty of taking a pass on. I never bothered going to see that, so I never watched it. It never looked like it would be something I would enjoy, so I never saw it. You're not the only one I've heard say it's a terrible movie. I cannot say that because I didn't see it. But thank you, Rami, for taking the bullet for the rest of us and going to see it and letting us know what you think about it. I appreciate that. All right. Ben Rayner writes, Leia Thompson for Back to the Future or Elizabeth Shue Karate Kid. Oh, that's easy. If you guys have been watching me recently, you know what I'm going to say. Oh, damn right, Elizabeth Shue Karate Kid. I don't know that there's ever been a more beautiful girl next door kind of, and she was wonderful in the role. Don't get me wrong, Leah Thompson was great in Back to the Future. She's great. One of the many great things about Back to the Future. But it's like, oh my God, I want to marry that girl. Like, just like when you're talking about the Elizabeth Shue character, how she portrayed it and whatever, it's like, that is, for a high school student, that's like the perfect girl. Smart, intelligent, strong, got her head on her shoulders, ambitious, beautiful, all that kind of, like, she's like the perfect, if you're a high schooler, like the perfect woman in that thing, in that show. And like everything about her just screams quality person, you know? And it's like, you look at her and you're like, I gotta marry that girl. Forget I gotta date that girl. I gotta marry that girl. So, and I just loved her performance in it. And again, I love Thompson's performance in Back to the Future too. No shade on that whatsoever. It's awesome. But for me, I'm gonna go Elizabeth Shue and Karate Kid. That's just me. Let's see. ZOMG Ruler writes, if Aquaman gets panned, do you think you'll still like it? Oh, who knows? For those of you who've watched me in a period of time, you know, whether something gets praised or panned has no influence over whether I like a movie or not. Now, if most of the critics love it, that means it's probably a good chance I'll love it too, but obviously not always. And if most critics hate a film, that's probably a pretty good indicator that I'll probably dislike it too, but again, that's obviously not always the case. All I know is this. I like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I think James Wan's a great director. I think there are some really good pieces of the puzzle in place here that this will be a good movie. Whether or not I like it will have nothing to do with whether it's critically praised, because everybody might love it and I'll say it and I might think it's terrible, or if it gets critically panned. Everybody might hate it and I might get a kick out of it. Like Batman vs. Superman got trashed a lot. I liked Batman vs. Superman. Had its problems. I acknowledge the problems. I'm not sticking my head in the sand, but at the end of the day, overall I had fun with it. So whether or not it gets loved or panned will have no influence whatsoever on whether I like it. Like none. So, and I get myself in a lot of trouble because sometimes there are movies everybody likes and I don't. And sometimes there are people everybody hates and I kind of like them. And, you know, I get people who call me names and say, you're just saying that because you want to get attention. That's why you're saying against everything else. But at the same time, I get everybody name calling me when I like the movies that most people like. They go, oh, you're just going along with what everybody else says. It's like, oh my God, make up your mind. Screw it all. I'm just going to say whether I like a movie or not. That's it. I could give two fucks about what somebody else thinks about it. I mean, I hope you like a movie, because if you go see a movie, I hope you like it, whether I like it or not. But really, I don't give a crap. If everybody loves it, I'm still going to say I hate it if I hate it. If everybody hates it, I'm still going to say I love it if I love it. So it'll have no. Now, so all I can say until I see the movie is it looks good to me right now. Then again, we've seen lots of movies that look good and end up being terrible. But right now, I thought the trailer was great. You got a great director. I really like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. And I've always liked Amber Heard in her roles. She's not always in the best movies, but I've always liked her in her roles. So right now, everything to me looks good. But we're just going to have to wait and see till we see the movie. All right. Adamus95 writes, I need more Megalodons in my life. You know, somebody was asking me earlier, I can't remember where. It might be a topic coming up on one of the companion videos. But somebody was asking me, hey, do you think they could cross Megalodon into, you know, the giant monster movie with King Kong and Godzilla? And it's like, well, that is kind of ridiculous because while the Megalodon is big, he's smaller than King Kong's foot. Like, there's King Kong's foot and then there's the Megalodon. I don't know that Megalodon fits in to the Godzilla and King Kong stuff there. But yeah, hey, look, I did not love Megalodon, the Meg. I didn't love the Meg. But it has its redeeming qualities. There's certainly parts of that movie that are very fun. And I don't think it's a terrible movie. I just can't quite recommend it, but I got a kick out of some parts of it for sure. All right. Darth Vader the Boss writes, finally finished The Godfather. Good on ya. Wow. It was awesome. I don't even know what to say. I am speechless, but in a good way. The movie is a masterpiece. And again, you're going to hear a lot of people in movie circles that will argue it is the greatest film of all time. There are a lot of people out there who hold The Godfather as the single greatest movie ever made. And then there are people out there who say, no, Godfather 2 is the greatest film ever made. I mean, and not many people who say Godfather 3 is the greatest film ever made, but yeah, man, it's awesome. And I'm just wondering, Darth Vader the Boss, if you had that experience where you watch it for the first time and all of a sudden you realize how much this movie has influenced so many other movies you've watched since. Because I remember I had a buddy of mine that watched The Godfather for the first time and I watched it with him. He's like, oh my God, I never realized that this movie was totally influenced by Godfather. And this movie, and this movie, and this movie. He just listed off like 20 movies that were clearly directly influenced by The Godfather once you see it for the first time. And it's one of those movies, man. It's just one of those films any film fan must have in their repertoire. You know, if you count yourself a film fan, there are a few films that you have to have watched. And not because you owe it to anybody else, but because you owe it to yourself. You have to watch The Godfather. If you have not seen The Godfather or The Godfather 2, you must watch them. You owe it to yourself as a film fan. So I'm glad you got caught up on that, Darth Vader. All right. Aaron Bailey writes, thoughts on Time Machine with Guy Pearce? Never loved it. You loved it, though. That's clear. And you know, it's funny because we were just talking about Guy Pearce the other day. What was it? That's right. Somebody was talking about Count of Monte Cristo, which I quite enjoyed, with Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce and a bunch of other people. I really like that movie. And we're talking a little bit about Guy Pearce, how it's really weird that Guy Pearce never broke through to become like a true A-list star. Because I thought he had all the talent in the world. He's got the Hollywood good looks. He's got all that kind of stuff. Never quite broke through. That was one of the movies I did not dig. And if I'm not wrong, wasn't Jeremy Irons in that? Hold a second. The Time Machine movie, 19... when was it? 96? Oh my gosh, was it 96 that came out? My goodness. Okay, well, I'm thinking it was Jeremy Irons. Let me just double check here on that. Oh, I'm totally looking up the wrong movie. Hold a second. You know, maybe I'm thinking about the wrong movie. Time Machine. Hold a second. I might be thinking of totally the wrong movie. I might absolutely be thinking of the wrong movie. Let me just pull something up here because I'm. I know this is invigorating television, isn't it? Watching me trying to find something online. This is where it'd be great if I had fact checker Jonathan in here with me, so he could just tell me the answers while I'm doing the show. Oh, it's 2002's The Time Machine. All right. And it was Guy Pearce, Mark Addy, Oh, and it was Jeremy Irons. Okay, so I was thinking of the right movie. Yeah, didn't love it. Yeah, did not love it. And I remember being very excited about it because I love Jeremy Irons and because I love Guy Pearce. And I love the basic story of Time Machine. And I was super excited about it. But I remember not liking it that much. I think I watched it one more time, like on home video in like 2004 or something. I don't think I ever watched it again since. But yeah, it's not one that really jumped out to me. But hey, it's one that you loved. Maybe you should check it out. If you like the basic story of the Time Machine, you like Guy Pearce, give it a chance. Go check it out and then let me know what you think. For me, it didn't quite work. But obviously for Aaron, it really did work. So give it a chance and let me know what you guys think about it. All right, Joshua Howard writes, Cinderella Man is the best boxing film ever in my opinion. That's a big phrase when you're talking about films like Raging Bull or Rocky. But I'm telling you what, man, Cinderella Man is awesome. It's all kinds of, I believe Ron Howard directed it. Actually, I'm almost positive Ron Howard directed it. You had Russell Crowe. The part of the problem was they didn't quite know how to market that movie. And that was right in the middle of Russell Crowe not being so beloved by a lot of people publicly because of a lot of his antics. And so the Cinderella Man movie just never did that great at the box office. I think, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe the studio even gave audiences a money-back guarantee for 1 week on Cinderella Man. That is, I think they did that. I think it was like, go see Cinderella Man, and if you don't like it, we'll give you your money back. Because they were just so damn certain that everybody would love Cinderella Man. It is an awesome movie. It's incredible. And one of those films that, for those of you who don't know, Russell Crowe is my favorite actor. I don't think he's the best actor of all time, but he's my favorite actor. Russell Crowe is. And his performance in Cinderella Man is one of the reasons why Russell Crowe became my favorite actor. He's so good in it. And the movie is just unbelievably awesome. It's got heart. It's got a great narrative. It's dramatic. It's just great. And I think Renee Zellweger is in that. Let me just look this up quickly. I'm pretty sure Renee Zellweger plays his wife in it. And yeah, Renee Zellweger, Paul Giamatti, it's a great cast. And the movie's fantastic. And yes, it was directed by Ron Howard. Absolutely Goldman. Akiva Goldman was one of the writers of it. Who's an Academy Award winning writer. If you haven't seen Cinderella Man, do check it out. Again, it's tough for me when you're talking about films like Raging Bull, the original Rocky, to call it the greatest box movie of all time, but it's great. It's damn great, so check it out. All right, Adam K. writes, did Iger approve of Horn's statement about Gunn? I don't know if Iger approved of the statement. I'm sure Iger gave his blessing to the decision. Of that, I have very little doubt. I mean, Iger, if the reports I've read are correct, Iger was on vacation at the time. But I'm sure Horn got his approval to do it, because that's a big thing. I mean, it's a big PR thing. Whether or not Iger approved the statement, I don't know. I have my doubts about that. I don't know if Iger would have gotten involved on that level, because Horn is the chairman of Fox Studios, so he has the right to make whatever statement he wants. So I'm going to guess, although it's just a guess, I'm going to guess no, that he didn't get Iger's approval for the statement, because I don't think he needed it. Next, Nathan Oswald writes, what do you think happened at the end of Prisoners? Prisoners, fantastic movie. Jake Gyllenhaal, Hugh Jackman, check it out. It's amazing. I want to be careful here because for people who haven't seen it yet, I don't want to give the ending away. I will say this. I think Jake Gyllenhaal knew what the whistle was. That's all. For those of you who haven't seen Prisoners, you're going to go, I have no idea what that means. Exactly. I don't want you to know what it means because I want you to check out the movie. For those of you who have seen Prisoners, I will say I think Jake Gyllenhaal knew what the whistle was. That's all I'm going to say. And trust me, if you have not seen Prisoners, I didn't just spoil anything because you're going to have to get to the very end of the movie anyway to kind of even understand the reference. So that's what I think. I think the movie kind of lays that out, but I could be wrong. If you saw it differently, that's totally understandable. But that's what I think, at any rate. And I could be wrong. All right, Roger Lee writes, the Weekly Hero Chronicles, that sounds awesome again. For those of you who know, I have the Weekly Hero, but like I announced a couple of weeks ago, probably going to be changing it. I even asked you guys to start sending in, like last week or 2 weeks ago, start sending in ideas. Haven't come across a good name yet. Still work. Actually, even today, Rob and I were texting back and forth, trying to come up with, it is tough coming up with a name. It really is. You'd think it'd be the simplest thing in the world because it's not important. The name isn't important. I could call the show Fart Bubbles, right? I could call this show Fart Bubbles. It won't add one extra viewer. It won't take away a single viewer. It's really not all that important. And yet we agonize over names. Like anybody in the YouTube space who's coming up with shows, you agonize over the name of your show. You agonize and agonize and agonize and agonize. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like I could call this show Fart Bubbles as long as I stuck with it and that became our recognizable IP and everybody knew what that, oh yeah, Fart Bubbles means this show, then it would be fine. Now there's a whole bunch of you who are going to start hashtagging Fart Bubbles to me because now you want Fart Bubbles to be the name of the show. And I ought to be careful because I don't want... and I'm looking over at the chat board and everybody's writing Fart Bubbles already. There you go. I got to be careful what I say because if Rob sees this, he might actually think it's a good idea. And I'm not going to do Fart Bubbles. But it's just, it's one of those funny things. It's one of those things that YouTube creators agonize over, a title for your show. And it's honestly one of the least important things you can do. I have just discovered that. I've discovered that over the course of my career. It's absolutely irrelevant and insignificant, and it doesn't mean squat what the name of your show is. It just doesn't mean anything. So we're going to come up with something, and then we're going to hit you guys with it. And, I mean, look, seriously, we might even just call the show Campea and Burnett, or Burnett and Campea. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But we're thinking about it. Thanks, Roger. All right, Kevin Kamaki writes, can I touch your face? I'm trying to remember what movie that's from. Well, first of all, it's actually from a couple of movies and TV shows. Eventually, if a blind person says that. So I don't know which one you're referencing it specifically, but let me know. Nathan Oswald writes, should authors have input on movies based on their books? Hunger Games, Ready Player One, or keep them out? The Shining, Never Ending Story. Oh, it really all depends. There's no... I don't believe there's any one right answer to that. I think it's one of those situations where I think some books really do not need the writers involved. Some books, the directors may really value having the writer there for their insight and their ideas. It really all depends. And many writers of books could care less if they're involved with the making of the movies. They just care about their book. Some writers would be, hey, if you're making a movie out of my book, I want to have input. You know, there's that. So I think there are lots of examples of movies that were made without an ounce of the writer's input that turned out great. And a bunch of examples of movies that the writers had tons of input and it turned out great. I really don't think there's a correct answer. I think that's, again, it goes back to what's better, comedies or dramas? Well, it depends on the comedy, depends on the drama, right? There's no one particular answer. Here's what I would think. All other things being equal, let the director direct their film. Let the director and the screenwriter, let the screenwriter write their adaptation, let the director, and just let them do it without the author's interference. However, there are a series of books and whatever that might not be the wisest thing. Like, I don't know how you do a Harry Potter movie without J.K.'s involvement. Nobody knows that world better than J.K. It's an ongoing story. And in the case of J.K. and earlier in the years of Harry Potter, only J.K. knows where that story's really going. So you're going to kind of want her involvement to some degree, right? So, yeah, it really all depends. I think there are advantages and disadvantages for both, to be honest with you. Darth Impact writes, hey, John, since you have a ringer, Anne, inside the toy business, who, in your opinion, is the bigger superhero IP, Batman or Spidey? Oh, I don't know. I do know Hasbro. My wife is obviously at Hasbro. Hasbro doesn't make DC toys, I don't believe. I don't believe they do make some Spider-Man stuff. So, I don't know. I mean, Spider-Man is clearly the more kid-friendly IP, right? Because Batman is kind of dark. So, I don't know. And Anne wouldn't be of any use to me because Anne would only be able to really give some insight on that if they sold both Batman and Spider-Man stuff, but they don't. So I'm not sure that she would have a thought on that either. I'm going to just guess Spider-Man, because Spider-Man appeals more to children. I don't mean that as a knock, not at all. I'm just saying Spider-Man appeals more to kids. Sharp Objects. Amy Adams, 6 episodes down, and it's fantastic. Also, keep up with the excellent shows. I watch them every day. Thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate that. No, I have not watched Sharp Objects yet. I remember I was totally drawn in by the trailers for them. And I do plan on binging that sometime shortly. I do plan on binging that sometime shortly because it looks fantastic. Amy Adams, the whole cast looks really good. Really interesting story. It's like, oh my God, like the trailers are great because they give you an idea about what the show's about, but you have no idea what's going on at the same time. That's the perfect trailer. A trailer that tells you the basics. Here's what this story is about, but still leaves you with no idea with what's going on. And I love that. And that did a great job of that. So I haven't seen it yet, but it's good to hear from you because honestly, I haven't heard from anybody that's watched it yet. So you saying you've been watching it, it's fantastic so far. I appreciate that very much because I do want to check that thing out. Murray Reich writes, I happen to love the freestyle machines at AMC, especially I can choose my own flavors. It's fast and takes less time away. I just wish they already have the damn order food drink option in New York City. Come on, AMC. And that's coming soon. Yeah, so that's been an issue on the John Campea show. We were talking about, somebody asked a question that, what do you think about, you know, self-serving yourself with concessions? Like the concession stand attendee gives you your popcorn and gives you an empty cup. Now you go put on the popcorn yourself and you pour your own drink. And my point of view is that I love it. And the main reason I love it is because I like to control where and how much popcorn or how much butter goes on my popcorn. That's vitally important to me. Butter is important. Hashtag butter is important. And no concession stand employee kid is going to know just how I like my butter. To me, popcorn is nothing but a butter delivery device. It's amazing. So I get to do that myself. Plus, instead of having just 8 options for a soda, you go to those freestyle machines where you pick your, and they've got like 80 different types of sodas. Plus you can mix and match if you want to do a little bit of swamp water, right? I used to love doing swamp water. So for me, I loved it. And on top of all that, it makes the lines go faster, right? The kids all still have their jobs serving you up, but then you take and go fill up your own drinks and the lines go faster. So you're not staying. That is one of the biggest problems, honestly, to me about the movie going experience is going to a movie and then having to stand in a concession line for 20 minutes, always checking your watch because you think the movie's about to start and you're just standing there for 20 minutes trying to get some popcorn. Anything they can do to speed up that process to me is a win, and I love it, and I'm glad you love it too, Murray. And I'm sure you'll get those pre-order food stuff coming to your AMC in New York soon because I think it's going over great in Burbank. Murray Reich writes, worst Mark Wahlberg film. Well, off the top of my head, I mean, my guess would be like everybody else. It's the breathing, living plants movie, whatever that M. Night Shyamalan movie was. I can't even remember the name of it because I don't care. I think to me that is bar none the worst Mark Wahlberg. Now, if you're specifically asking what was his worst performance, I don't know, probably one of his earlier ones, because he's developed into a pretty good actor. He started off rough, but he's developed into a pretty good actor. But yeah, overall, as far as I think his worst movie was, The Happening. I think that's the name of it, The Happening. Bad title, not that it matters, and horrible, horrible movie. So I'm going to say The Happening. Let's see. Darth Impact writes, if the Avengers were at full strength, Vision, Hulk, Thor, would that movie had been shorter? If you're talking about Infinity War, I don't know. If Vision, Hulk, and Thor were all at their maximum full strength, I don't know. I mean, because if you, first of all, not only do they have to be at full strength, first of all, Thanos, or Vision at full strength can't beat Thanos. Hulk at full strength can't beat Thanos. And part of the problem was, it wasn't just that those two weren't at full strength, they were not in the same place, right? Other than the final battle at Wakanda. But Vision wasn't there at the beginning. Hulk wasn't there when Vision got stabbed. So you'd have to have all three of them at full strength. Okay, I'll say this, and this is just a guess. If you had Vision, Hulk, and Thor all maxed out and all in the same place at the same time, fighting Thanos without a completed Infinity Gauntlet, then I would think that trio could beat Thanos without a completed Infinity Gauntlet. That is my guess. So, yeah, I'm... And would that have made the movie shorter? No, I think you still would have had to have ended up with it all in that Wakandan battle, and everything still would have needed to happen to lead up to that point. So I'll say no, wouldn't have made it any shorter, actually. All right. Gerald Quinata writes, for a long time, I put off Game of Thrones. A lot of people did. For a long time, I put off Game of Thrones. Recently, my girlfriend, Kennedy, kept insisting on watching it, so I did. It is such a great show. Now, I'm all caught up. I can't wait for season 8. And you know what? There are some shows. Let me say some. There are some shows that get a lot of hype. And then you see the show and it doesn't live up to the hype. It's like, oh, come on, blah, blah, blah. Game of Thrones really is one of those shows that lives up to the hype. Now, I'm not the biggest Game of Thrones fan in the world. I'm certainly not. But it's a damn good show. It's a damn good show. And I lament that they're making the last season just 6 episodes. That's kind of lame, but whatever. It's their show. Of course, we got prequels and spin-offs coming and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you and me both, Gerald. I mean, I am souped up. And you know what's funny? I almost ditched on that show at the end of season 1 because you know who dies. And like, but you know who's my favorite character in this show? And I kind of thought, after I saw the season finale, I'm like, well, I'm not watching season 2 because you just killed my favorite character. Game of Thrones killing off your favorite characters is something you damn well better get used to if you watch Game of Thrones. For those of you who watch the show, you know this. But yeah, it is magnificent television. It's going to go down in history as one of the big game changers. It is a show that will go down in history as one of the big game changers. And yeah, I'm totally on board. Again, it's not my favorite show on TV, maybe not even in my top 5, but I do love it. I love it. My wife and Kaori, they go crazy for it. I have to watch it. We'll probably do a recap of the 6 episodes. I'm not even saying we're going to do a season of... We'll probably do recaps for each of the 6 episodes when it does come out, whenever in 2025. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it coming back too, man. All right. Koba writes, why does Hollywood vilify the shark so much? They're quite nice, really. Well, because sharks are nightmarish. I don't think they vilify them. I think they just play off that image. I mean, look, there are a few creatures on the planet that look as terrifying as a great white. Like, right, there's few things as scary, just visually, as the face of a great white. Just right there. And they're giant and you never see them because they're in the ocean. So there's a mystery element to it. You wrap all that up. You've got the perfect movie antagonist. And it's just a big eating machine. Sharks are not evil. They're just animals like anything else looking for their next meal. That's it. Just like you, just like me. But sometimes we can be the meal. And that makes them our antagonists. So... they are naturally very scary. People have a natural fear of sharks. So playing off that in movies, for me, is just kind of a natural thing to do. It just makes sense. And that's why we're fascinated with sharks as the monster. We're fascinated. Audiences are fascinated. There's a reason $44.5 million worth of people went out to go see the Meg this week because we are terrified of them. So it's kind of a perfect thing to do. KW Garrett, 83, writes, sorry, John, you're still unemployed. Have you tried Monster.com, Craigslist, or even getting a dishwasher job in classifieds? Kidding, your mother-in-law story amused me. Yeah. For those of you, I have this ongoing issue with my mother-in-law. And I love my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law's great. We just went out for lunch to commemorate the 2nd anniversary of Anne's dad passing away. And went out with the family, and I love my mother-in-law. She's great. I call her mom, whole bit. A little bit of a language barrier there because, she just mainly speaks Tagalog because she's Philippine. But from the day we married to today, my mother-in-law just can't wrap her head around the fact that I have a job. I remember the day we got married, and I was running my online stuff. I was doing all the YouTube shows, all that kind of stuff, right? I had employees, for heaven's sakes. But the day we got married, my mother-in-law pulled Anne aside, because I'm Canadian. My mother-in-law pulled Anne aside, my wife, on the day of our wedding, and basically said to her, can John get job now? Like, now, she was thinking that I'm Canadian. Oh, now that I'm married to an American, now I can get a real job. She just never saw it as a real job, right? And even recently, just kind of joked about it with my wife. I still don't think she gets it. I still think she loves me, but I think there's a part buried down in the recesses of her brain that thinks I'm just some kind of unemployed dude who sits around all day watching ESPN and playing video games and mooching off my wife. That is the dream. Make no mistake about it. That scenario I just described, that's the dream. But it is far from reality. But yeah, it's just, okay, Mom, and my wife just laughs at it. Anne thinks it's hilarious. And I remember this one time sitting there, and Anne tried to explain to her mother my job, and I was sitting there. She's like, no, Mom, he works from home. He doesn't stay at home. He works from home. He gets on the internet. He talks about movies. So he blah, 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 and all that. She goes, so he watches movies and plays on the internet? Well, yeah, sort of. And she goes, oh, because her son is Ray, my brother-in-law who works with me. Oh, Ray should get a job like that. Oh. It's like, thanks, Mom. Okay, sure. And I've just kind of given up. I've just given up. She doesn't get it. That's fine. She loves me anyway, and I love her, and that's good enough. Let's see. Ben Rayner writes, I want a car. Chicks dig the car. What is with all of you guys and your insistence on quoting Batman and Robin lines? Although, that was funny. Of course, played off the much funnier line in the previous movie, just when he says, it's the car. Chicks dig the car. And so then later, of course, they played off that line, which made it kind of pathetic, where Robin goes, oh, a car. Chicks dig the car. I mean, but seriously, why are you guys quoting Batman and Robin so much? Gio writes, thoughts on Queen, an upcoming movie. They goats, in my opinion. You know what? I've never been a big Queen fan. I've never disliked Queen. Don't get me wrong. And there's certainly songs of theirs I've always known I liked. And then I'm watching that one Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody trailer, where they basically sew about 7 or 8 of their songs into the trailer. And I'm listening, it's like, oh, I'm saying, oh yeah, that song's awesome. And then they kind of segue into the other song. I'm like, oh, that song's awesome. And then they kind of meld that with another song in the trailer. I go, oh, and that song's awesome. And then I'm going, wait, that song's awesome too. And then I'm like, oh, I am a big Queen fan. I love Queen. And, it was kind of one of those things like, yeah, Queen's okay. I like Queen. I'm not a big fan. And then you listen to all this medley that plays in the trailer of Bohemian Rhapsody, like, oh my God, I am a big Queen fan. I didn't even realize it. I love Queen. I love Queen. They're great. They have such great music. Love Queen. The movie looks great. The movie looks great. It would have been interesting to see the Sacha Baron Cohen, because remember, Sacha Baron Cohen was actually attached to star as Freddie Mercury in that film for many years, until it finally fell apart. Then we had Bryan Singer directing it, and Bryan Singer is still the director of record. They brought somebody else in to do the last couple of weeks of shooting, but Bryan Singer is the director of Bohemian Rhapsody. We'll have to see. The trailer looks good. The performance, I mean, Rami Malek looks great as Freddie Mercury. The music sounds great. I love the feel of it. So I'm really looking forward to it, personally. All right. Dakota Barber writes, BlacKkKlansman is really good. Good story, humor, and suspense. Love the performances, especially Adam Driver. Topher Grace did a really good job, too. In my top of the year, for sure. Wait a minute, in your top 5, or it is your top? See, that's what I mean. I'm hearing great things about it. Anna and I want to go see it. We can't go see it tonight. She's got her art class. We're probably going to try to go see it tomorrow night. I wanted to see it over the weekend, but got really busy. Couldn't see it this weekend, but I'm dying to see it. I'm dying to see it. I'm hearing nothing, not just from you, Dakota, but also critics and all that kind of stuff are just raving about BlacKkKlansman. And I got to tell you, seeing, Adam Driver, Topher Grace, in the trailer's like, wow, you don't see him around a lot these days. So it was really kind of cool to see him in that trailer. So it had a pretty decent opening. It was projected to make about 6 or 7 million opening weekend. It exceeded that. It made a little over 10 million opening weekend, which I'm sure if you told the studio guys that 6 months ago, they would have loved it. It made over 10 million opening weekend. Because this is clearly not a film that's designed to be a blockbuster by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm hearing nothing but amazing things about it. I'm so glad you shared your thoughts on that, Dakota. I really appreciate it. And after I see it tomorrow night, I'll share my thoughts on it. All right. Nathan Oswald writes, this is why Superman works alone. Everybody wants to send in these Batman and Robin quotes. But that is pretty one. That's one I remember even all my friends when that happened. Everybody's like, oh, does that mean Superman and Batman are going to have a team-up movie? Woo! And it got everybody excited. That was kind of the first big suggestion of a shared cinematic universe was that line. Thanks for reminding me of it, Nathan. All right. Thomas Bergstrom writes, saw The Towering Inferno and The Naked Gun yesterday. Great movies, but the appearance of OJ kind of threw me a little. Thoughts? Oh yeah, I mean, it's one of those things for sure. Like at the time, having OJ Simpson in there was great. The great OJ Simpson is one of the most beloved athletes of the American culture, and he's in it every love. Woo! Yeah, it kind of changes it a little bit nowadays, doesn't it? It's like trying to go back and watch an episode of The Cosby Show. Right? The Cosby Show is the best, man. And my all-time favorite comedy concert was a comedy concert that you could probably still find online if they haven't pulled it, called Bill Cosby Himself. All-time greatest thing. And I still remember this one time, Jerry Seinfeld was doing this docu thing, and he's just hanging out in a comedy club one night, and Chris Rock comes in, and they were with a third comedian too. I can't remember, and they were all just talking about greatest, and then the topic of greatest stand-up performer of all time, who's the best, and they all just said, oh, Bill Cosby. I mean, that's period. And no, don't say anything else. It's Bill Cosby. He's the best. And Bill Cosby himself was like my all-time favorite, and now I can't watch it. Now I can't watch it. I mean, it's like that. And so trying to watch The Naked Gun now, and OJ Simpson pops up, and you're like, ooh, should I keep watching this? Can I laugh at this? I mean, it's weird, right? It's a very odd thing. It's a very odd thing. So it's tough, man. It's really tough. Thanks for sharing your experience. Murray Reich. Oh, where do we go? Oh, we just had the jump. Okay. Okay, here we go. By the way, guys, if you have not sent in a super chat question yet, unless you're okay with it being used on a companion video later, I would suggest, because I may not even be able to get through all the rest of the questions that we have here. Murray Reich writes, only 2 companion videos over the weekend. When are the rest? They're coming. I had some things come up this weekend. I did a couple. I mean, I do work 7 days a week. I needed to kick back and relax a little bit, but I did get 2 companion videos up. There are more coming, and the next one will air tomorrow morning, and then I'll probably have another one the morning after that. So that's when the next couple of ones are coming. Caleb Bradford writes, hey, John, with everything that happened, is The Weekly Hero still moving forward? You don't plan on canceling it, do you? No. We're still doing that show. Again, it'll probably have a different title, as we've said for the last couple of weeks. We're changing the title. But no, we're probably going to do it for 4, 5, 6 weeks. And then Robert and I will go, are we enjoying doing this? Are we having fun doing this? Does the audience seem to like it? Blah, 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 blah. And then we'll decide if we're going to keep going or not. But yeah, absolutely. For now, at least for the next 5, 6 weeks, we're definitely going to do it. And then we'll evaluate if we're having a good time or not. Nicholas Glenn writes, thoughts on episode 9 being 2 parts. Would you want that? Well, then it's not 2 parts. Then it's episode 9 and episode 10. Right? So it wouldn't be 2 parts. It would be episode 9 and it would be episode 10. Would I want that? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the story is. It's impossible to say whether I want it because I do not know what the story is. Until I know what the story is and until I see it, I really can't formulate an opinion. Look, eventually there's going to be an episode 10. Eventually. Whether that's 4 years from now or whether that's next year or like 1 year after episode 9 is whatever. At some point there's going to be an episode 10. Whether episode 10 is yet another chapter in this current story, or whether it's the first chapter in a new story, who knows? But we'll find that out. But as to whether or not I would want it, I don't know. There may not be enough there to even do one movie. Or maybe there is. I mean, so it's impossible to say when we don't know what the contents of it are. Thomas Bergstrom writes, Disney would lose rights Mickey in 2023. Consequences. Oh, Disney's not going to lose the rights to Mickey Mouse. If you're talking about public domain laws, remember, the way public domain laws used to be, Disney would have lost Mickey Mouse ages ago. But the thing is, Hollywood lobbyists keep getting the laws changed, so nothing becomes public domain anymore. So do not count on Disney ever losing the mouse. They are probably never going to lose the mouse. SSJR Goku Black writes, Batwoman actually debuts on Supergirl. To be honest, that's not what I heard. I mean, I could be wrong, but I thought I heard she was going to debut in the crossover with Arrow and Flash. Maybe I'm wrong about that. And Supergirl part of that crossover too. I heard this year's crossover will not involve Legends of Tomorrow. So, which means it should be Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl. But I did not hear she would debut on Supergirl. So you might be incorrect, or I might have just not heard it yet. So what you're saying could actually be completely true. But I think it still stands. They're going to wait for the crossover, see how the audience does, and then greenlight it. Or see how it comes together before they even show it to the audience. And if they think it came together great, maybe we'll hear about them greenlighting it even before the crossover event happens. But that's going to be our first look at hers around that time. Thanks for the info, SS. Okay. Crimson ID4 writes, don't know if my question came in on time Friday, but which are you looking forward to? Mortal Engines or Battle Angel Alita? You know what? I know that's one of the questions on the companion video list. So it's going to get answered also in a companion video, but I'll answer it here too. I'm looking more forward to Battle Angel Alita, I think. I think Mortal Engines will be the better movie. I do. But I've been looking forward for a decade. Like, James Cameron's been teasing doing this movie for over a decade. Now, I know he's not going to be directing it, which is why I think Mortal Engines will probably be the better movie. But, like I said, it's got to be over 10 years that I've been looking forward to Battle Angel Alita. So, yeah, I got to say, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. Like, if I got to pick between two of them to watch right now, I'm watching Battle Angel first. I have a feeling Mortal Engines will be the better film. It's just a feeling. I'm just guessing. I'm just speculating. But, yeah, I am definitely looking forward more to Battle Angel because I've been waiting a long time to see it. And a lot of you guys have been waiting a long time to see it too. So that's why it's higher on my list. All right. Colin Tucker writes, have you seen the Netflix trailer for Maniac? Love it. I don't think I have. I don't think I have. So I'm not even sure what it is we're talking about. You know what? Give me a second here. Maniac, Netflix. Let me just double check here. Oh, sorry. Yes, the one with Emma Stone and Jonah Hill. Yes, totally forgot the thing for it. I don't know how I feel about it. It felt weird. Not bad, not good, weird. They just felt like a very weird trailer to me. I will say I am intrigued. I totally forgot the name of it was Maniac. Yeah, just weird. Feels weird. So I don't know how I feel about it right now. But, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm very curious to check that damn thing out. Let's see. Senator24 writes, did you know that Henry Cavill is a big World of Warcraft fan? Yes, I am. He's been playing it for years. He was with his group in a dungeon when he got the call that he will be Superman. He ignored the call first and had to call Zack Snyder back. Great guy. There are so many reasons to love a Henry Cavill. He's ridiculously talented. He's a great Superman. I think he'll make a great James Bond if he does indeed become the next James Bond. He's just super cool. He knows how to engage on social media, and he knows how not to engage on social media, which is just as important. And the guy plays World of Warcraft. How do you get much better? By the way, I am going to play some World of Warcraft tonight if any of you guys want to tune in and do a play and chat with me, but I'll be doing that. But yes, he is quite a notorious World of Warcraft player, which again, just makes Superman even cooler in my books, to be honest with you. All right. Alan Gonzalez writes, hey man, do you think Enemy of the State would benefit from a remake? It's kind of it's a little bit of a generic paint-by-numbers action thriller. And I think it's been made 10 times, really. Understanding just kind of the paint-by-numbers nature of it, it's really not that profound. You could do it again, sure. But there's no need, you wouldn't, I mean, I would just do something of a similar vein. Look, the reality is Enemy of the State is not a popular IP. It's not something anybody would recognize. So why not just make a new movie that just borrows heavily from the themes of it? Because, I mean, the themes you can't copyright. There's nothing copyrightable about the themes. And I thought Enemy of the State was good. I thought it was pretty good. If I'm not mistaken, I think David Morse was in that. Hold on a second. Let me just pull that up. And I love David Morse. Let's see here. Oh, no, that's not the one with Dave Morse. I was wrong. Dave Morse is in another. I was thinking about the right movie, but it's not the one with Dave Morse. So, I don't know. Again, it's really not all that profound of a film, so, and it really wasn't all that popular and not all that beloved. So, I mean, if you want to remake it, if you think you can remake it and just start from scratch, understanding you're not going to get a lot of benefit from the fact that it's a pre-existing IP, then I could see them giving it a shot and maybe make it better than the original was. Let's see. Spirit Man Studios writes, did you hear about the James Gunn To Catch a Predator party pics? Yeah, I mean, it's all comes back from the same era. He dressed as a Catholic priest. It was at a To Catch a Predator party. It's really nothing. Like, to me, the tweets, the 20, 30 tweets that he wrote are by far worse. You know, this came up on the John Campea show earlier today, but it's true. When somebody goes to a party and dresses like the Joker, do you suspect that they're a serial killer? Like, if somebody dresses up as the Joker at Halloween, do you suspect they actually murder people? No, because it's a costume party, somebody who's dressing up. If the party was a To Catch a Predator theme, and he dresses like a Catholic priest, maybe that's not in good taste, but it doesn't lend anything to anything. It's a non-story, and I don't know why anybody's talking about it, to be honest with you. If it's something he just did yesterday, that's different, but it's from the same era as the tweets, and the tweets are far worse. So I really don't know why anybody's talking about it. It was a costume party. To me, that means nothing. The other stuff means something and worth talking about. That, to me, not a story. Beeper5 writes, what comes first, Captain Marvel trailer or Avengers 4 title? You know, I was asked that before, and I may have changed my mind. I'm going to say Captain Marvel trailer. I think we're going to get our Captain Marvel trailer in September. I really do. I think we are going to get a Captain Marvel trailer in September. And I think we're going to get our Avengers trailer sometime in the Christmas season. I think, or Avengers 4 title. I think we're going to get our Avengers 4 title sometime in December. I wouldn't stake anything on that. I mean, we could get the Avengers 4 title tomorrow. We could get the Captain Marvel trailer at 6 o'clock tonight. I have no idea. So I'm just purely speculating. But my guess is September, early October is when we're going to get our first Captain Marvel trailer. My guess is in December, later in December is when we'll get the title to Avengers 4. That's my guess. Just pure guess and pure speculation. I wouldn't even put $1 on that, to be honest with you. But that's just kind of my speculation. But right now, I think we're going to get the Captain Marvel trailer first. I do. Richard Carity writes, with Dave Bautista acting future unknown, do you think he made the statement as if to see if I get fired from Hollywood, I got something to fall back on? So this is a sign he may return to WWE soon? No. I think, like, look, Dave Bautista has been very good with his money. He's got enough money now that he can live comfortably, and his kids can probably be okay for the rest of their lives. He's got enough money for that. I don't think this is any indication of Dave Bautista going back to the WWE. I wouldn't doubt it if he made an appearance like The Rock does in WWE. I wouldn't be surprised at that. But I don't see Dave Bautista ever going back to wrestling, especially at his age right now. Hold on a second. Let's see. Dave's almost 50. He's going to be 50 in a few months. Do you want to go change careers again and go back to wrestling at 50? And let's face it, on the mic skills was never his forte, right? So he would have to really be doing it with in-ring. At 50, do you want to go back and do that now? Nah, he's got enough money put away. I don't see him going back to WWE unless, like I said, it's like The Rock does it, where it's just a short little special stint here just for, you know, shits and giggles. Other than that, I don't see him going back to the WWE. Alex Von Gollum writes, "Hey John, several days ago I saw an ad about Christopher Robin with Pooh and a red balloon behind him and thought, oh no, Pennywise is going to get him." I thought, seriously, in the movie when the red balloon comes up and you see him walking with the red balloon, I have to admit, Alex, I had the same thoughts, like, oh, Pennywise is going to pop up any minute now. Well, not seriously, but I remember thinking, ooh, I seriously had flashes of it. Watching Winnie the Pooh and Ewan McGregor at first, with walking around with the red balloon. It's like, oh, this is kind of eerily like it. Like, a little eerie. And so I felt the exact same thing, man. You're not alone. Cameron W. writes, I've seen M. Night's Signs 100 times. Always scares me. I think, look, seriously, I think Signs is actually a little underrated. Yes, the final 10 minutes are a little bit ridiculous. Just throw water on them. I mean, okay, look, that's ridiculous. But the other 9/10 of the film, I think were beautifully done. It might, maybe it's not my favorite M. Night movie, but it ranks up there. I think it's very good. And one of the best things about it, M. Night, while shooting that movie, he understood something that a lot of Asian horror film directors understand. And it's something that a lot of North American filmmakers do not understand when it comes to horror. And that is this. What you don't see scares you a hell of a lot more than what you do see. What you don't see will scare you a hell of a lot more than what you do see. Now, there is good bump to have in horror movies with the monster going, rah! Yeah, there's good bump there. There's absolutely good bump. But when you know how to utilize your atmosphere to the point that the things you don't visually see with your eyes, that begins to terrify you even more. And these things about sightings and blah, 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 and signs, and then, you know, the little glimpse of just the back foot of some kind of monster disappearing into the wheat, that freaks you out. Rather than the camera panning and the monster going, rah, right? You just hear rustling and turn and just see this monstrous looking foot disappearing into the things. I mean, that will freak you the hell out. And that's, again, it's just one of those things that I think M. Night did really, really well in that film. And why that film, other than the ending, works for me on such a good level like that. So, yeah, I really, really dug it. Okay, let's keep going here. The Jasmine Illustrator writes, hey John, hope you're good. Any idea when we might see some Lion King footage / trailer? We're still a year away from the movie. So I'm guessing maybe Christmas time, maybe. Might be our first glimpse at some stuff. But again, look, like everybody else, I am also anxious to see stuff. But the reality is we're practically still a full year away. So there's no need for Disney to blow their proverbial load now. Save it for a while. So I'm going to guess at the earliest Christmas, but then again, I don't know that. They might release something tomorrow. But we're still so far away from the movie coming out that it's not really something that I'm thinking about right now. But yeah, don't get me wrong. The moment they release something to look at, I'm going to be all over it. Like, absolutely, for sure, just like everybody else. But I'm going to guess around Christmas time. That's my guess. Could be wrong, but that's my guess. Let's see. Kieran Douglas writes, hey, John, are you a fan of Rush? New World Band. Yeah. My dad, who's a longtime fan, took us from London to see him at the Forum in Los Angeles. I asked this because you're Canadian. Yeah, I love Rush. I love Rush. I remember, too, like, one of the first bands I played in, our bass player was just a huge Geddy Lee fan. Huge Geddy Lee fan. And of course, Neil Peart, probably the greatest drummer of all time, at least in rock, Neil Peart. I remember even in the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie. Do you guys remember this? We're going back a few years. But in the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, the aliens were working with Neil Peart. And Neil Peart's drumming was so powerful, like he had power in his drum. So he could play a drum riff and bring somebody back to life. Neil play the drum solo of life. You play this drum solo and bring somebody back to life, right? Yeah, man. I mean, and then if you appreciate Rush, we talked about this the other day, make sure you watch that comedy with Paul Rudd and Jason Segel called I Love You, Man. Because it almost feels like that whole movie is a love letter to Rush. So go and watch. If you're a Rush fan, make sure you watch I Love You, Man, because you're going to get a big kick out of it. Let's see. Kenny Kearns. I thought I said Kenny Creams. Kenny Kearns writes, love you and your show. Thanks so much. Thoughts on the fact that we are getting 4 DC movies within 12 months of each other, starting with Aquaman, Shazam, Joker, and Wonder Woman 84. I think it's great. I think it's great. And maybe they'll all be sucky. Maybe they'll all be terrible. Or maybe they'll all be awesome. But I am personally very excited about it. Now, of course, we had a very dry 2018 when it came to DC movies, right? Very dry 2018. But now we got Aquaman starting at the end of 2018. Then within a calendar year, we should be getting 4 films. I'm excited. I think that's great. Combine that with the fact that we've got Captain Marvel, Spider-Man Far From Home, Avengers 4, and then we're going to have X-Men, Dark Phoenix, X-Men New Mutants should be in there somewhere. It should be a glorious year for comic book movie fans. So yeah, I'm very excited. I just think it's great. I think it's terrific. Obviously, I got huge hopes for Aquaman. I think that Shazam trailer from Comic-Con turned a lot of people around. I think there's a lot of people now that were like Shazam and then now saw the trailer like Shazam. And now everybody's really looking forward to it. The Wonder Woman was a big hit, of course, and everybody's talking about this Joker movie. Still a lot of people of, it's kind of stupid that they're going to have 2 Jokers in 2 different universes. But I have a feeling when this trailer comes out, whenever it comes out, it's going to do what the Shazam trailer did. And I think it's going to turn a lot of people around on it. And look, all these movies might suck. Sure, they might. But I think there is legitimate potential in all of them. Obviously, Wonder Woman, because the first one was so good. I think Aquaman has legit possibilities to be great. I think Shazam's got legit possibility to be great. And obviously, I think this Joker movie has legit possibilities to be great. So it's a good time to be a comic book movie fan. You mix in the 3 Marvel films, the Fox films. It's a good time, man. It's a really good time. All right. Drinks on Me writes, this new Oscar category could force studios into making the best movie they can possibly make instead of a rush, silly popcorn film for a quick buck. Silver Lining, no, that'll have no influence like that whatsoever. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, studios do make the best movies they can. Sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong. Because they know the better the movie is, the more money it will make. That doesn't mean if you make a great movie, you're guaranteed to make $1 billion. No. But if you make a piece of crap movie that makes $400 million, if you made it great, it might have made $500 million. And that extra $100 million, you might think, oh, studios don't care about $100 million. You're damn right they care about $100 million. You're damn right they care about $5 million. You're damn right they care. And they know, hey, yeah, this movie sucked, but if it's great, we'll make more money. And it increases our chances for franchising it. And that will make us more money, right? The better it is, the better the chance you have of longevity and making even more money. A piece of crap might make $600 million. But if it was awesome, maybe it makes $690. Maybe it makes $720. And to the studios, that extra $100 million is everything. Plus, people are more likely to come back and watch a sequel. So studios try to make the movies the best they can. And I find one of the big mistakes most film fans make is a lot of film fans believe this total lie, which is it's easy to make a good movie. I find a lot of us, and I think I fall prey to this sometimes. I think you fall prey to this sometimes. I think all of us fall prey to this sometimes. I think the biggest fallacy that a lot of us buy into is this notion of, oh, just make it good. Like, it's easy to make a good movie. So whenever a studio doesn't make a good movie, they must have made it bad on purpose. Making a movie good is nigh impossible. It's Herculean to make a movie good. And believe me, the studios try to make their movie, they try to make it work. Because the better it is, the more people will run out to see it. And the more likely you will be to go back and pay for another ticket to go watch it again. And then the more likely that they can do a sequel and make even more money. Again, Making it good doesn't guarantee it'll be a blockbuster, not at all. But you'll make more money if the movie's good as opposed to if it's bad. Maybe not a night and day difference, but you'll make more money. And studios know this, so it's in their best interest to try to make it good, but sometimes they fail, because that's art. You know, sometimes you write a great song, sometimes you write a crappy song. That's art. It happens. But I believe, so no, this new Oscar category will in no way, shape, or form at all influence how anybody makes their movies. I absolutely guarantee that, 100%. Thanks a lot, Drinks on Me. I love that name, by the way. Adam Alderton writes, gun to your head, is The Irishman going to be good? I'm guessing no. It's weird to say that about a Martin Scorsese movie, but I'm guessing no. And I hope I'm wrong, but I really do believe there's a reason a lot of the studios passed on it. We'll find out soon. We'll find out soon, but honestly, my guess right now, just a guess, is that The Irishman will not be good. I'm hoping it's going to be awesome. We're all hoping it's going to be awesome. Let's wait and see. All right, Kenny Kearns writes, I hated the Clone Wars with you, John. However, I love the Darth Maul arc with him versus Sidious/Kenobi. Did you hate Maul? I loved when he showed the emotion of watching his brother Savage die. Look, it's hard for me to remember all the details about the show, but I will say this. I am not a fan of the Clone Wars series. That does not mean there weren't elements of the series that I didn't think were quite good. The Maul stuff I thought was pretty good. You know, with Savage and him getting his legs back and all that kind of stuff in his return. Sure, I like that stuff. But that's true most things. There's most things, look, I may love a movie, but there are going to be things about it that I didn't like. I can not like a movie, but I think there are redeeming qualities in it. And I think for Clone Wars, like even the Phantom Menace, right? I'm not a fan of the Phantom Menace, but that Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul fight, give me that pod race any day. I love the pod race. I think the pod race is great. I mean, there are elements of the prequels that I think are good. The Yoda fights. I love the Yoda fights. I know a lot of people don't like the Yoda fights. I like the Yoda fights. What can I say? But I do. I like the Yoda fights. So I think there are elements, and the same is true, I should say, of Clone Wars. Overall, I'm not a fan of Clone Wars, but there are certainly things about it that were good, and the Darth Maul stuff is definitely one of them to me. All right, Chef Cook writes, hey, John, let cut to choose. Hi, John, let cut to choose. We will never see a black James Bond or James T. Kirk because Hollywood doesn't want to see a black man have sex with a white woman. It's still taboo. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all. Yeah, I don't think that's the case. Besides, I mean, like, who's to say, just because you have, you could do, I'm just backtracking here a little bit here. You can have a black James Bond. Who says your Bond girl has to be white? Who says your Bond girl has to be white? So no, I don't think Hollywood has any problem with the idea of white and black characters together on screen. And even if they did, that still wouldn't stop them from casting an Idris Elba as James Bond. But obviously it looks like he's not going to be. But that still wouldn't stop them because they could just have a black Bond girl. Even if that was even if they held on to that archaic, stupid ideology, they could still get away with it because you just have a black Bond girl. So on both levels, I do not think that's accurate. I really do. I think there have been many examples of couples in movies who are mixed race couples. And I say that as somebody who's in a mixed race relationship. I'm in a mixed race marriage, and I've recognized plenty of times in television and in movies that there are mixed couples. So I don't think that's an issue anymore, at least not to that degree. But again, even if they were that backwards thinking, that still doesn't present a problem because you don't have to have a white Bond girl. So I'll disagree with you on that show. I mean, who knows? You might be right. I could be dead wrong. I'm just speaking from my perspective, and my perspective could be way off. Absolutely, it could be. I could be way off. But that is my perspective on it right now, so I don't think that's a problem at all. I think at some point we are going to get a black James Bond. I don't think we're going to get a black James T. Kirk because I just don't see the need of having a black James T. Kirk. I think what Star Trek should do is just expand and do things more like Captain Sisko and things like it. Just have more black characters. I don't think you have to change Captain James T. Kirk up. But with James Bond, that's a little bit different. So, yeah, I don't see that as a problem myself. I really don't. All right. Thanks for the insight, man. All right. Carrion Douglas writes, thoughts on 2019 becoming the biggest box office year ever? Avengers 4, Star Wars 9, Lion King, Frozen, Aladdin, Toy Story 4, Wonder Woman 2, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man 2. All could be $1 billion contenders. Every single movie you've just mentioned, other than Aladdin, I don't think Aladdin is a $1 billion contender. I don't. But all the rest of them are. Wonder Woman made over 800 million, so it's got to be considered a contender. Avengers, easy, is going to be $1 billion. Star Wars 9 is going to be $1 billion. Lion King will be $1 billion. Toy Story 4, possibly. Good chance, but I wouldn't say it's a lock. Wonder Woman 2, probably, but I would not say it's a lock. I don't think Captain Marvel is going to be $1 billion film, so no, that's not going to be $1 billion film. Spider-Man 2, possible. The first one made over 700 million. I think Wonder Woman 2 has a better chance of being a $2 billion or being $1 billion film than Spider. But look, all to one degree or another, other than maybe Aladdin, I think all these have either guarantees or have a chance of being $1 billion. It very well could be. But you know what it often comes down to? It's the middle films. It often comes down to how do those middle films do? Yes, there are a bunch of big $1 billion films, but how did the next rung down do? That's what's really going to determine if 2019 is going to be the biggest box office year ever. It's not all the films that hit $1 billion. It's going to be how well do those middle films perform. If they perform strong, absolutely. Because remember, in a year, you're talking about 500 films coming out. That's great if you get 10 of them join the $1 billion club. That's great. But if these other films don't do well, these middle films don't do well, it won't really matter. So it's possible. We'll have to wait and see. But it could be a record year for number of films that cross the $1 billion mark. It could be a record year. So let's keep our eyes on that. All right. Crimson ID4 writes, do you think this solution with Gunn would still have happened had the Roseanne incident not occurred months prior? Seems like Disney is trying not to court controversy by unfairly being accused of playing favorites. Honestly, I think they still let him go. I really do. I think they still let him go regardless. Again, the Roseanne situation, a lot of people try to draw comparisons. They cannot be compared. They're totally and completely different. The only way these situations are similar is if James Gunn made his comments today. That's the only way the Roseanne situation and the James Gunn situation become remotely similar. And had James Gunn sent them today, then he got to go. He's got to go. If Roseanne had made her comment 7 years ago and then has never made comments like that since because she realized it was stupid and proved she didn't agree with her own words by not saying them again for years, then I don't think she loses her job. So I do see them as completely separate. And so I do still think that Disney still lets James Gunn go. I still wouldn't agree with it, but I can see where they're coming from. And that's a big, important point to make. And I try to emphasize that a lot. I understand why Disney let him go. I don't agree with the decision, but I understand why. I also don't agree with how they did it and the stupid statement that Alan Horn made. That was a poorly made statement that came across as completely disingenuous. But I still think, even if it wasn't for the Roseanne thing, they still let him go. Because the two situations are completely different from each other. They're totally different situations. And so I don't think it would have altered their course at all. I really think they still would have let him go. And I would still understand. Don't agree, but I understand. And if James Gunn had made the statements today, then to hell with James Gunn, get rid of him. Talk to me again in 5, 6, 7, 8 years. If you've shown and proved you've changed, then we can talk about you coming back. But if James Gunn makes that statement today, I'm calling for him to be fired. I think all of you I think we're all calling for him to be fired if he made those statements today. But hey, it's one of the things that makes the situation kind of tricky, right? Richard Karate writes, Worst fourth film: Die Hard 4, Lethal Weapon 4. I kind of like Lethal Weapon 4. Pirates 4, Superman 4, Highlander 4, or Rambo 4. Well, Highlander 4 ain't as bad as Highlander 2, so I'll take that off the list. Rambo 4, okay, to me, it's got to come down to Pirates 4 and Superman 4. Yeah, I'm going to go Superman 4, man. Quest for Peace was so bad. Quest for Peace was so legendarily, iconically awful. I'm not defending Pirates 4. I'm not defending Die Hard 4. Like I said, I like Lethal Weapon 4. I dig that movie. But, yeah, it's a good question, Richard. Worst part 4 of a franchise, yeah, to me, nothing will top Nuclear Man and Quest. And you know, it's not even just Nuclear Man. You take Nuclear Man out of that movie. Nuclear Man just kind of became the poster child of everything that was wrong with that movie. But even if you took him out of the movie, that movie is just as bad. You know? So I'm going to go, and maybe you guys will disagree. Maybe there could be some good debate on this. But I'm going to go Superman 4 is the worst of that bunch. All right. Ed Garm, 1028 writes, live action Iron Giant in the future has potential. I don't think so. I don't think they ever have any plans on doing that. Plus, it would be difficult to capture the magic of the animated one. That would have to be, no pun intended, but that would be a giant budget. That movie would have to be so expensive. And you know what? As much of a lot of us cherish the Iron Giant, remember it fondly, it's not like a lot of other animated films that parents pass on to their kids. Because, like, I have some friends who have kids, and they show them this animated movie from their childhood or their youth, this animated from their youth, and blah, blah, blah. But not a lot of them show them the Iron Giant. So I'm not sure it would have a big cross-generational appeal, like a lot of other films do. So I don't know. Potential. But I don't know that anybody would actually pull the trigger on it. It's an interesting question. I love the Iron Giant, by the way. Lincoln Johnson writes, Sons of Anarchy versus Breaking Bad. Why do you hold one higher than the other, considering binging SOA tonight? Sons of Anarchy it's Hamlet on Harleys. I mean, somebody described it as that the other day, and I completely agree. To me, it's better character development. There's a thing about it to me that, on a visceral level, that I think myself, and I can't speak for women, because there's a lot of women who love Sons of Anarchy, but I cannot speak on their behalf. I can only speak from a man's perspective, okay? From a man's perspective, there's an element to that show that I think a lot of men deep down yearn for. The notion, and in many ways, it's almost like lifestyle porn. The notion of a brotherhood that would kill and die for each other. Like, the notion of a brotherhood where loyalty to each other is so high you will kill and you will die for the man next to you. There's something, and again, I can only speak from a male's perspective. I can't speak for women. My wife loves the show. If she were here, I'd let her speak about why it appeals to her so much. But from a guy's perspective, there's something about that appeals on such a level to us as men that I think is incredible. And then there's that lifestyle porn element where, like Entourage, which is pure lifestyle porn, you live vicariously through these characters every week, right? There's a little bit of that element to Sons of Anarchy as well. Look, both shows are spectacular and wonderful, but for those reasons, there's something to me, those elements are what to me makes that show work on a different level than even a Breaking Bad does. Now, you're going to get lots of people that disagree and love Breaking Bad more, and I'm not going to dispute that. That's fine. It's great. They're both great shows. But that's why Sons of Anarchy works even better for me. And it's terrific television. So, yeah, man, jump on that. I think you're going to be glad that you did. All right. Let's see. ZCM Zombie writes, toxic fandom equals fart bubbles. Told you, fart bubbles is going to catch on, man. It's totally going to catch on. Toonie2 writes, John, love the Daily Hero Show. Daily Hero Show. Great that Robert is there with you. You're great together. My new favorite show. I love, I have always loved doing shows with Robert. Robert and I have been doing shows together for years, not just on Heroes, but I loved my dynamic with him so much. I brought him as a guest many times on my Lionsgate show, Film HQ. I just love doing stuff. I think he's just terrific. He's so good at pulling up information, so many great Hollywood stories, such a depth of knowledge on a lot of stuff, not just about comics, but also the industry as a whole, because he's been working in the industry his whole life. He's a terrific guy to do shows with. I just love it. I have so much fun. I have so much fun. And that's why we do this stuff, is to have fun. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Daily? I don't think so, but I appreciate it. Kevin Kamaki writes, best boy band, Hanson or 98 Degrees? Oh, New Kids on the Block, man. New Kids on the Block are the best. But out of those two, Hanson. Because they're actually a band. So go figure. So I'll go Hanson on that. Third Man 3. I'm just going to rush through these last three guys because we've gone way over time. What do you classify as an SJW? I don't even like address. It's idiotic, and quite frankly, using the term makes you look idiotic. Look, I say things that make me look idiotic. You say things that make you look idiotic. I think even using the term is idiotic. First of all, the notion that somebody wants to fight for equality for people, anybody who wants to make that a bad thing, I have to question your humanity a little bit. Like these people are marginalized and put down in our society, and they're always portrayed in the wrong way. They're not given opportunities. We need to do things to, stop marginalizing them and give them a place at our collective cultural table and blah, 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 blah. Oh, you're just an SJW. Really? Trying to take somebody who wants to stand up for marginalized people who are unfairly treated, whichever group of people we're talking about at the time, and saying, hey, that's not right. We should do this better. And then there are some people who want to point that and try to make that a bad thing. Like, if you're not all about white power, then you're an SJW. And I just think it's ridiculous. I think it's a ridiculous term. I think anybody who uses that term just makes themselves look silly. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people who do that, right? Who take it too far, right? There are people on that who take it too far. Absolutely they are. But, using the term SJW for anybody, like I've seen it just tossed at people. It's like, oh man, it's kind of unfair that particular thing has had like 800 people in it and they've never once let a black person in it. And some, oh, you're just an SJW. It's a ridiculous term. And I think you make yourself look silly when you use it. So yeah, I think it's a stupid term. Dirk Diggler writes, who wins, Dominic Toretto or the Meg? Oh, Dominic Toretto. Absolutely, Dominic Toretto wins. Look, anything short of maybe Optimus Prime or Jesus or Batman, Dominic Toretto wins. That's the math in Hollywood. If Universal is making the movie and Universal is paying the writers, Dominic Toretto wins the fight. Doesn't matter if it's Superman, doesn't matter if it's the Meg. If Universal is running it, and they're getting the right, then Dominic Toretto wins that fight. Make no mistake about it. Last two questions. Winter Naomi Vera writes, thoughts on box office chances of a Weird Al biopic? Not very good, but oh my God, whatever money it would make, some of it would come from me. You can't see it's out of camera shot. I've got not one, but Anna's got me two Weird Al Yankovic pops. Two Funko Pops of Weird Al Yankovic. One from his Fat video, and one just with him with his accordion, because Weird Al does a lot of polka. I would be there in a heartbeat. I don't even know if his life story is very interesting. Honestly, I know nothing about the life story of Weird Al Yankovic. All I know is that he's the only celebrity that I've been in the same room with, sometimes even standing right beside, that I've never had the guts to say hello to. I've gone up and talked to Harrison Ford. I've gone up and talked to Chris Pratt. I've gone up and talked to George Lucas. But out of the 7 or 8 times I've been in the same room with or standing near Weird Al Yankovic, it's the one celebrity that I just get too nervous about, and I do not have the guts to go up and say hi. I'm not kidding. There was this one time even, Ann and I was always laughing at me, but I can't remember which premiere. We were at some premiere, and we come out of the premiere, and we get on an escalator to go up to the after party, and Ann's like, look who's right in front of you. And standing in front of me on the escalator is Weird Al. She's like, talk to him. Talk to him. And I'm like, no, I can't. It's the only guy ever I've never had the guts to go up and talk to. It's weird. So I would be there. I'd be there in a heartbeat, man. Let's see. Run Amok Design writes, did I miss something? Footage, witness outside the ring, people in hospital. Forget suspension. Why is Conor not locked up for aggravated assault? Well, he did get charged. Conor McGregor did get charged. He got a suspended sentence. He got fined. I don't believe he had any other criminal record. So honestly, I don't know why he didn't get any prison time, but he got a suspended sentence, so he can't get into trouble again. But why the UFC did not suspend him is beyond me. I'm not saying ban him for life, but the fact that the UFC didn't even suspend him, to me, is unforgivable. It's undefensible that they didn't suspend him. But anyway, that's just me. Last question. Latique White says, a pedophile is a person who has thoughts of children and doing things for them. Yes, I don't know what that has to do with anything we were talking about, but thank you, Captain Obvious. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. Anyway, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. It was a long, almost an hour and a half. Sorry about that, but I didn't want you guys to have to wait to get your questions answered on a companion video. And, you know, I had a little bit of time here, so I thought I'd do it. Thank you so much for joining me here today, guys, and sending in all your questions. Some great topics of conversation. I love talking with movies with you guys, so thanks for being here and being supportive of the show. That'll do it for me. Don't forget, we're going to be back again tomorrow morning with the John Campea Show, talking about all the latest movie news and everything like that. Until then, my name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.